Yeah, I think stuff to do with family overwhelms me quite a bit. You know, worry or stress around family side of things, that does overwhelm me quite a bit. But in terms of, you know, doing the job and things like that, I don't feel too overwhelmed.
Prince Harry has spent nearly his entire life next to a rumor he did not create, did not choose, and could not shake. It is the claim that his biological father is not King Charles III, but James Hewitt, a British cavalry officer who was once romantically linked to Princess Diana. For decades, this idea has circulated through tabloids, talk radio, internet forums, and now, in its newest and strangest form, through AI-generated videos designed to look like breaking news. So what is actually true here? Not the version dressed up with unnamed royal insiders and sealed envelopes, but the version that shows up in court transcripts, published memoirs, and on-the-record interviews. That is the story this script is going to tell, because the real one is stranger, sadder, and far better documented than any invented DNA reveal could ever be. To understand why this rumor took hold in the first place, you have to go back to the basic shape of Harry's childhood. He was born in September 1984, the second son of Charles and Diana, with the reddish hair that also happened to run through his mother's side of the family. A few years later, Diana began a relationship with James Hewitt, a household cavalry officer who gave her riding lessons. Hewitt was tall, athletic, and also had red hair. To a tabloid press already hungry for royal scandal, the resemblance was too tempting to leave alone. Newspapers began floating the idea that Harry was actually Hewitt's biological son, conceived during an affair that had supposedly started years earlier than it really did. The theory required only one thing to work, an affair that began before Harry was conceived. The problem is that this never happened. By every credible account, Hewitt's own repeated statements, corroborating testimony from people close to Diana, and eventually Harry's own legal filings, the relationship between Diana and Hewitt did not begin until 1986, a full 2 years after Harry was born in 1984. Hewitt has said this consistently and publicly for decades, including in a 2017 interview with an Australian program, where he pointed out how absurd and hurtful he found the ongoing speculation. Diana's former royal protection officer, Ken Worf, backed up that timeline in his own memoir published in the early 2000s, writing that Diana did not meet Hewitt until the summer of 1986, and that the red hair people loved to point to as proof was, in fact, simply a Spencer family trait passed down from Diana's side. In short, the men closest to the actual relationship and the person tasked with protecting Diana at the time all describe the same sequence of events, and that sequence makes the paternity rumor a mathematical impossibility. None of that stopped the story from having a long life. Tabloids do not need a rumor to be true to keep running it. They need it to sell copies. And a possible secret royal love child does that reliably year after year. So the comparison photographs kept appearing, though which royal does Harry really look like quizzes kept circulating. And the joke kept getting told at Harry's expense, sometimes literally. In his 2023 memoir, Spare, Harry wrote candidly about how this rumor shadowed him, describing it as a subject that showed up in nearly every biography or long profile ever written about him. He also revealed that his own father never directly addressed the rumor with him one way or the other, choosing silence instead of denial, which Harry has said felt like its own kind of wound. When a family simply does not talk about a hurtful rumor, the silence itself becomes part of the story, and readers are left to fill in the gap however they like. The rumor didn't stay confined to gossip pages and dinner party jokes. In 2002, when Harry was 17, a British newspaper published a story with the headline "Plot to Rob the DNA of Harry," describing an alleged scheme to obtain a sample of Harry's hair or another physical sample specifically, so it could be tested against a sample from Hewitt. The idea was that if a tabloid could get its hands on Harry's actual DNA, it could settle the paternity question once and for all. And if the results confirmed the rumor, it would be one of the biggest royal stories in a century. This detail is genuinely part of the public record. The plot to rob the DNA of Harry article exists, and Harry himself referenced it directly 21 years later in a witness statement to a UK court. That court appearance is where this story stops being tabloid speculation and becomes something you can actually verify. In June 2023, Harry became the first senior member of the British royal family to give evidence in open court in more than 130 years, testifying in his lawsuit against Mirror Group newspapers over allegations of phone hacking and other unlawful information gathering by the publisher's journalists. Harry's case covered years of alleged privacy violations, but during his testimony, he specifically addressed the Hewitt paternity rumor, telling the court that numerous newspapers had reported the claim that his biological father was James Hewitt, a man his mother did not actually meet until after Harry was already born. Harry went further, saying that at the time those articles were being written and published, he himself did not know that his mother had not met Hewitt until after his birth. He said he only learned that specific timeline detail around 2014, even though it was, in his words, common knowledge among the journalists who had been writing the stories about him for years. In his witness statement, Harry also said he had wondered whether newspapers deliberately tried to plant doubt in the public's mind about his parentage, essentially as a way of undermining his place in the royal family. Sit with that fact for a second, because it is arguably the most striking real detail in this entire saga. The rumor followed Harry from childhood into his 30s, appeared in profile after profile, showed up in a tabloid story literally titled around plotting to steal his DNA. And yet Harry says he did not personally learn the timeline that disproves the rumor until 2014, roughly 3 decades after it started and years after journalists covering him already knew it. That is not a secret DNA envelope changing hands in a private meeting. That is a young man growing up inside a rumor about his own identity without being handed the one basic fact that would have ended it. If there is a genuine, documented betrayal narrative buried in this story, it isn't a secretly withheld lab result. It's the years during which nobody around Harry apparently thought to simply explain the calendar to him. Harry has also connected this rumor directly to his broader falling out with the press, and by extension, his strained relationship with parts of the royal establishment. In both Spare and his 2023 court testimony, he has framed the Hewitt story not as an isolated joke, but as one example of a media culture that treated his private identity as public entertainment. He has described feeling that tabloids were less interested in accuracy than in a story too good to correct. And he has said the constant resurfacing of the rumor caused him real and lasting distress, particularly because it touched on his relationship with both of his parents. None of that requires an invented scene involving King Charles's health, a secret royal meeting, or a sealed envelope passed between brothers. The documented emotional toll here is Harry's own on the record, describing what it was like to grow up as the subject of a rumor that adults around him could have quietly corrected and did not. So where does the idea of a 2026 DNA reveal actually come from, if none of this is backed by real reporting? The honest answer is that it comes from a specific and increasingly common corner of the internet. AI-generated video content designed to look like breaking celebrity or royal news. In late 2025, a video began circulating on social media claiming that Harry had taken a DNA test proving King Charles was not his biological father, complete with footage supposedly showing Harry's reaction. Fact-checkers at Snopes investigated the claim and found no credible news outlets reporting any such test or result, despite the fact that a real story of this magnitude would have been covered immediately and extensively by major outlets and photo agencies. Snopes also identified clear technical signs that the video itself had been artificially generated, including that the Harry in the footage had dark eyes, when the real Prince Harry has blue eyes, along with mismatched audio and visual glitches typical of AI-generated content. Snopes rated the claim false. That was not an isolated incident. Around the same period, multiple similarly titled videos appeared across platforms, some claiming Harry collapsed in court after a DNA reveal, others claiming King Charles himself collapsed. Still others promising some version of Harry being in tears after a secret test confirmed the old rumor. These videos share a recognizable pattern. Dramatic, all-caps titles promising an emotional confrontation. Vague sourcing built entirely on words like allegedly, reportedly, and insider's claim. No verifiable named source, court document, or reputable outlet behind the core claim. And often links or comment sections steering viewers toward ad-heavy blogs. None of them have ever been backed by an actual DNA result, an actual court filing, or an actual statement from Buckingham Palace, Kensington Palace, or Harry and Meghan's own representatives. If a royal DNA result of this magnitude genuinely existed, it would not surface first in a monetized YouTube video with stock dramatic music. It would be one of the biggest news stories of the decade, reported by every major outlet within hours. It's worth asking why this particular rumor keeps getting revived, generation after generation, format after format. Part of it is simply that Harry's face has always publicly resembled his mother's side of the family. The same red hair that runs through generations of Spencers has made for an easy, if false, visual gotcha for tabloids since he was a teenager. Part of it is that royal paternity rumors are, unfortunately, a reliable engagement engine. They combine celebrity, scandal, and a hint of forbidden secrecy in a way that reliably outperforms more mundane royal coverage. And now, with AI video generation tools becoming cheap and accessible, that same old rumor can be repackaged endlessly into new breaking news content, recycled with a fresh headline and a fake courtroom scene, without needing a single new fact. There's also a deeper irony sitting underneath all of this. Harry has spent the last several years being unusually, almost aggressively open about his private life, writing an entire memoir that discusses his mental health, his relationship with drugs, his combat service, and his complicated feelings toward his family. He has done sit-down interviews, a Netflix documentary series, and extensive on-the-record court testimony, more public disclosure than most royals offer in a lifetime. And yet the rumor that continues to attach itself to him hardest is the one he has the least control over correcting, because no amount of Harry saying the timeline doesn't work seems to slow down a story that tabloids, and now AI content mills, find too profitable to let go. What can actually be said with confidence, based on everything on the record? James Hewitt has denied any relationship with Diana beginning before 1986. Diana's own protection officer corroborated that timeline in his memoir. Harry's red hair has a documented, mundane explanation on his mother's side of the family. Harry himself has testified under oath in open court that the rumor's central premise doesn't hold up chronologically, and that he only learned the specific dates that disprove it decades into his life. And every viral claim about a secret 2025 or 2026 DNA reveal, a sealed envelope, or a tearful confrontation between the brothers over lab results has been either unverified speculation or outright fabricated AI content, with fact-checkers finding no supporting evidence and clear signs of digital manipulation. The real story here was never really a mystery to be solved with a DNA kit. It's a story about how a false rumor, once it becomes profitable, can outlive every correction, every denial, and every documented fact stacked against it. Following a person from childhood photographs to a witness stand in his late 30s, and now into an era where you don't even need a real journalist to keep alive, just a script, a voice generator, and a dramatic thumbnail. The next time a video promises a shocking secret royal DNA result, the most useful question isn't, what did William hand Harry in that envelope? It's simply, who is reporting this, and where's the source?